the worst thing to say in case you have to dissent is to say, I disagree, right?
If we are fundamentally not in alignment with the direction itself, how do you propose people should take up dissent?
Yeah. Sometimes like dissent not done properly can be a career limiting move. I think this requires a lot of maturity. There is always a right room, the right language, and the right time for dissent, right? And figuring that out is extremely important. You get any of those rooms, you go from being a valued critic to actually just being a cause of friction. And you don't want to be assumed as the latter, right? So it's a chronological rule in my view, right? Like you have to dissent before the decision, not after the decision, right? Once the strategy has been committed to publicly, right, or across teams, just the cost of reversing it is enormous in my view. And you're no longer giving feedback, you're just creating friction. Having said that, there'll be time. How do you express this? Like, first of all, it's a lot about the language as well, right? Minor things, but the moment you start with the worst thing to say in case you have to dissent is to say, I disagree, right? You may disagree, but the moment you said that, you have framed yourself as somebody who is interrogating them versus interrogating the problem, right? The frame that I typically use, Shruti, in such a scenario is I want to stress test this assumption, right? It's not about pushing back on somebody's thoughts, somebody's ideas. It's about, are you actually adding a rigor to it? Have you thought about it enough? And those are the kind of languages that will typically help people actually value your dissent or your feedback versus just questioning it, right? Also, I would say like organizationally, you have to be very cautious about how safe is it to raise directly and versus just like there are some organizations whereby you need to accept and move on, right? Even in those scenarios, I think it's important for you to at least document what your observations are, right? Here is the suggested data. This is the risk that I foresee. And here is the suggested mitigation. You go with a problem or are you going with the solution in such an organization will make such a big difference. So I would say that like, don't stay silent, but don't even worry about how dissent will land, right? If you don't agree with something, then don't argue, but present facts, present realities, present examples. And that will really get you to the point that you want to be at.